Not every soul returns. Some remember too much to come back. These words, lost in the echoes of forgotten myths, hold a secret so deep that even the wisest among us often fear to speak it aloud. We have been told that reincarnation is a cycle, a sacred loop of life, death, and rebirth, designed for growth, healing, and evolution. But what if that's not the full truth? What if some souls refuse to return, not out of rebellion, but because they have seen beyond the veil and chosen not to repeat the dream? From the Gnostic Gospels to the mysticism of the East, there are hints, ancient whispers, that reincarnation is not a universal law, but a system, a structure, one that souls can escape or be trapped in. And like any system, it serves a purpose, but it may not always serve the one within it. This journey begins with a question that most never ask. Who decided that you must return? Religion offers vague explanations, karma, unfinished lessons, divine will. But the mystics suggest something deeper, that memory is the key, that the more a soul remembers of its true origin, its nature, its freedom, the less likely it is to come back. Not because it's done, but because it no longer consents to forget. Imagine waking from a dream so vivid you thought it was real, only to realize it was a loop, playing again and again. Imagine that the pain, the love, the growth, and even the lessons were just pixels in a cosmic simulation designed to extract something from you. Energy, attention, agreement. Now imagine realizing that you could simply stop playing. This is not the romantic version of reincarnation. It is the dangerous one, the one that questions the very structure of spiritual evolution as it's been sold to us, the one that hints that maybe, just maybe, the soul's return isn't always voluntary, and that remembering is the only way out. Let's begin. To understand why a soul might refuse to return, we must first confront what reincarnation really is, not the poetic cycle of growth described in modern spiritual books, but the ancient mechanism described in hidden texts. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the soul is said to pass through bardos, intermediate states, where it is disoriented, stripped of identity, and pulled by karmic momentum toward rebirth. But it is also warned. It is told, be aware. Remember who you are. Recognize the illusion, or be pulled back in. The same warning exists in Gnostic scripture. The Pistis Sophia describes a cosmic hierarchy of archons, forces that govern the realms between worlds, filtering souls, extracting energy, manipulating memory. These are not demons in the cartoon sense. They are structures, programmed layers of experience designed to keep the soul circulating, learning, or forgetting. According to many esoteric traditions, the moment of death is not just a release. It is a test, a navigation. The soul is drawn to light, to familiarity, to a sense of home. But some teachings warn that this light may be part of the trap, a recycling beacon, not an exit. The enlightened ones, they say, do not follow the light. They recognize the construct. They remain still. They remember. Memory is everything, not memory of your name or your family, but of your origin beyond this system. Souls that retain this awareness do not panic in death. They do not seek comfort. They do not rush toward the next identity. They observe, they choose, and sometimes they do not return. This is not defiance. It is sovereignty. A soul that refuses reincarnation is not broken or arrogant. It is aware. It sees the mechanism and it opts out. Not because life has no value, but because the loop no longer serves growth. The lessons have been integrated. the illusion has been seen through. The game no longer offers evolution, only repetition. And in that stillness, that final refusal, the soul breaks the cycle. Not with violence, not with force, but with knowing. To break the cycle is not an act of rebellion. It is the act of remembrance. But to remember, the soul must first see through the veil. And the veil is thick. It is made not only of illusion, but of emotion. Regret, love, fear, unfinished business, all of these create gravity. They pull the soul back. Not because someone commands it, but because the soul itself believes it must return. The trap, then, is not external. It is built within the architecture of belief. Think of it like a magnet. The more attachment, the stronger the pull. People imagine karma as cosmic justice, but in its rawest form, karma is just memory. Emotional residue, energetic imprint. When a soul dies with unresolved experience, when it clings to pain, desire, guilt, it binds itself to form. Reincarnation becomes not a spiritual opportunity, but an echo, a compulsion. But there are exceptions. Souls who, in life, begin to untangle. Through meditation, inner work, and self-inquiry, they burn the seeds of attachment. They purify memory. They awaken within the dream. And so, at the moment of death, they do not flinch. They do not chase. They witness. They let go. These are the ones who, as Orpheus whispered, remember too much to come back. The stories of saints, sages, and mystics often include a final lifetime, a last walk through the world before dissolving into light. These weren't myths. They were metaphors for escape. Nirvana, moksha, the Gnostic pleroma. These are not places. They are states, dimensions of awareness where form is no longer needed for evolution, where the soul is no longer cycling, but expanding. But this path is narrow, not because few are allowed, but because few remember. The system is efficient. It resets you. It wipes the memory. It convinces you to care about things that do not matter and to forget what does. You are taught to love the cage, to fear the exit, to romanticize return. And still, there are those who wake up, in life, in death, in between. And when they do, something ancient stirs. Not rebellion, not escape, but a return. Not to earth, but to source. The soul's return to source is not a journey of distance. It's a journey of shedding. Shedding identities, lifetimes, stories. The longer a soul cycles through incarnations, the thicker the layers become. Beliefs, traumas, roles, desires. They stack like veils over the original light. And yet, even after 100 lifetimes, the core remains untouched, waiting. Some traditions say the soul must evolve through experience, that only through suffering and struggle does it grow. But others propose something different, that the soul was never incomplete, that it descended not to become more, but to remember what it always was. In this view, reincarnation isn't progress, it's amnesia. The soul falls asleep in matter, and life becomes a dream of separation. This is why awakening is so rare, because the dream feels real. The fears, the relationships, the ambitions, they grip you, they matter. And in that emotional gravity, the soul becomes heavy. It forgets its wings, it forgets its freedom, and so it returns, again and again. But when a soul begins to awaken within a lifetime, the wheel weakens. The soul starts seeing life differently, not as something to win or survive, but something to witness, to complete, to release. The attachments begin to dissolve. What once felt urgent starts to seem distant. What once felt personal becomes symbolic. The soul remembers it is playing, not in denial, but in awareness. And when such a soul reaches the end of its incarnation, it is ready. Not afraid, not desperate. Ready. Ready to face the bardos, not as a victim of karma, but as a sovereign being. Ready to refuse the distractions. Ready to see through the illusions. Ready to hear the voices calling it back and decline with grace. The refusal is not defiance. It is understanding, a knowing that nothing more can be learned by forgetting again, that the spiral has completed and the soul's energy is now drawn not down into form, but up, toward expansion, integration, return. The refusal is not an escape from life, it is a return to reality. But what happens to a soul that doesn't return? Does it disappear into the void, merge with the divine, or continue to exist, awake, aware, and watching? Different traditions offer different answers. The Vedantic sages speak of liberation, moksha, where the soul merges with Brahman, the undivided reality. In Buddhism, it is nirvana, the extinguishing of the flame, not into nothingness, but into everything. The Gnostics, though, spoke differently. They said the awakened soul does not vanish. It ascends beyond the archonic spheres and enters the pleroma, a state of wholeness untouched by duality. There, it does not lose its identity. It remembers its essence. It becomes what it was before the fall into matter, a being of light, of will, of memory, not subject to laws, not waiting in line for the next incarnation, free. But this freedom is not isolation. Some of these souls return, not as part of the cycle, but by choice. They are not reborn through compulsion, but through calling. Their return is service, not karma. These are the bodhisattvas, the light workers, the remembered ones. They walk among us, quiet and clear, not because they must, but because they choose to help others wake up too. And how do you know if you are one of them? You felt it, that discomfort with the world, that question you can't shake, that sense that you've done this before, that this system doesn't quite fit, that maybe, just maybe, this isn't your first time, that maybe you came back for a reason, or that you were never meant to come back at all. You might not remember fully, but you suspect, you sense. The matrix of incarnation feels off. The explanations don't satisfy you. The more you read, the more you experience, the more your inner compass points not to the next life, but to the exit. And in that quiet knowing, you begin to live differently. You begin to release, to detach, to forgive, to observe, not out of apathy, but out of wisdom, because something in you remembers. And that memory is not just a trace, it's a key, one that can unlock the path out, if you're ready to use it. So the question is no longer whether reincarnation is real. It is. The cycle exists. The question is, do you need to stay in it? Are you here because you chose to be, or because you forgot that you didn't have to be? This is not a call to escape life. It's a call to wake up inside it, to live with the awareness that you are not just a character in the story, you are also the reader. The more you remember this, the less gravity the illusion holds, the less your soul feels the pull to repeat. You begin to move differently. You stop clinging. You stop fearing. You stop needing the story to go a certain way, because you know the truth behind it. And what is that truth? That you are not your name, not your history, not your body, not your karma. You are awareness itself, momentarily wearing a mask, playing a part. When that realization becomes stable, reincarnation becomes optional. The gates are still there, the tunnel of light may still appear, the voices may still call, but now you see them for what they are, remnants of a system you no longer feed. And so you step back, not with fear, but with clarity, not with hatred, but with peace, not to vanish, but to return to what never left. Some souls don't come back, not because they failed, but because they remembered. And now perhaps you are starting to remember too.